I am back for part three. Why am I doing this? That's a good question. I feel kind of compelled to. I feel like people might care. Don't really know. If you don't care, that's cool. If you do care, even better. I know that there is an absolute ton of information out there leading up to yesterday's lobby day. Positive, negative, everything in between. I heard some absolutely outlandish stuff. I heard some stuff that was potentially true and somewhat a little bit scary. And so going into this day, I had a lot of thought, a lot of prayer, a lot of conversations with folks who were going, folks who were thinking about going, and just folks who were saying that maybe I shouldn't go. I did end up going. Leading up to it, I heard so many rumors. I heard that there were white supremacists going to be there, that some got arrested in another state. Some dude from Canada got arrested. White supremacists were coming to kind of hijack this. There was stuff about Nazis. There was stuff about Antifa. Antifa, if you don't know, stands for anti-fascists, and these are the jokers who have been going around in places like Portland and areas like that where they are basically fighting. They're fighting and attacking people who don't believe what they believe, and they're talking about being anti-fascist. I don't understand. I don't understand how you throw a milkshake or a cement shake in someone's face, or beat them, and talk about being an anti-fascist. I'm not quite sure how that plays out. Don't know. There's a lot of rumors about who they are, that they're funded and paid for by other people. All I know is, like, if Antifa's around, they're not the kids that you want to hang around with. So better to be safe than sorry. I was prepared for that. I was prepared. How was I prepared for Antifa? I'm a concealed carry holder. How was I prepared for the potential for there to be any kind of high-level crowd violence? I brought with me bottles of water and a towel. That way, if there was any kind of tear gassing or any kind of pepper spraying from police, I could, get that stuff out of my face. I brought food because you get hungry. I brought extra clothes, gloves. I could not find my winter hat. So if you saw my video yesterday, you saw my little scarf babushka. It was so cold. It was like in the 20s there. Absolutely ridiculous. The folks who I went down with, we had a plan in terms of where we were going to park, how we were going to escape, where we were going to meet, how we were going to communicate if cell phones went down. And you would be well within reason to hear me saying this stuff and be like, dude, you were absolutely out of your dang mind. However, if you were listening and reading and seeing some of the stuff that was being proposed, there was a lot of stuff going on around out there about a lot of bad actors who were going to show up. There was the Charlottesville incident that everybody was trying to tie this to, with links to the KKK and the Klan and Nazis and Confederates and all this kind of crap. Okay, so I was very, very thought out, not like super paranoid and crazy. I did sleep the night before. I did not lose sleep. I went there prepared, but also optimistic, right? So got there. We pulled up at about like 6:30, quarter to 7 or so. Parked right by the convention center. There was a big volleyball tournament going on there. Headed down to the space. When we got there, there was probably about 3 to 5. I think I expected it like 10, so maybe there was even more than that. About 10,000 people there. I'm decent at guessing crowd size, just from like working weddings and things like that. I can very quickly kind of pick up on how many people are here and bang, just guess really quick. I've been in situations where I've seen, that many people before to say, this looks a lot like 10,000 people. So that's kind of how I was estimating that. It was awesome. And so from there, we got there, kind of took a look around. The way that it was set up was it was kind of like an L. So you had 9th Street or Ave, whatever it is, and then Main Street. And then from Main Street, you could go up into the lawn that was the Capitol grounds, right? So you had to come in 9th, or you had to go past everything and then come back up into 9th. Is a mess. I'll talk about that, the logistics of it all in a second. So my friend and I decided to kind of take a loop, survey the area, see kind of what was going on, what the area looked like, who was there, if there's anybody kind of sitting in wait, if the bad people were there to attack us and stuff like that. We walked around the entire capital area, all the parts that were sort of quarantined off and restricted and stuff like that. Didn't see anything. Posted some photos of some of the more aggressive law enforcement's equipment, as well as some of the more scary, hey, that's a bus to take out mass casualties. That's awesome. So checked all that out. Everything was cool. Went back in. By the time we'd walked around, it was probably a good half an hour. And we got back to, we were across the street from, or down the block from, but could see where we had just been. And that area where it was pretty easy to kind of move around was packed. I mean, it went from being, you had 5 or 10 yards from the next person to there, like no space at all. Super packed. We hung out in that space, and it just like, so they literally had one entry point and one exit point, which is remarkably unsafe for that kind of crowd. What that basically looked like was, if this is my analogy, check this out. If it was a toothpaste container, it was a solid mass of toothpaste just moving in at the exact same time, right? Like picture that. So there's a street and then a cross street. So the entire mass is just one giant mass of people that stretched the entire width of the street and was completely backed up. So everybody's distance to each other was like right here. Everybody made their way in, kind of funneling through. And we hung out there probably till about 11 o'clock-ish or so. So we were there at 7, hung out in that kind of area till about 11. Decided this is getting kind of boring, so let's go kind of check out what's going on. We then walked around to Main Street, walked down there. I couldn't believe how many people were there. I thought the bulk of the people were hanging out on 9th. Turns out there was at least 10,000 people just on Main Street alone. There was more room, more space. It was way colder, though. Let me talk about the cold for a second. Freezing. The sun finally came out, so on 9th, you were able to get a little bit of warmth to some sunlight. You hooked around to Main Street, just cold, like painful cold, like things hurt, cold. Got down there, we're kind of walking around, got to the point where you could actually see up the way and see where people were heading into the grounds for the Capitol grounds. Holy smokes. That's where you saw the picture I posted yesterday on Facebook and on Instagram of that just giant mass of people. Unbelievable. I mean, it was like vintage, Washington D.C. kind of stuff. I mean, just the mass, the sea of people was absolutely insane. In terms of a crowd number, people have been speculating about that for since the second that everything ended. I've seen numbers, preposterous numbers. The news was reporting 22,000, not even close. Somebody on Facebook today said 6,000. There were 6,000 people there when we got there. I mean, 6,000 is I don't know, whoever said it was like 6,000 originally is just like they're on acid or something. Like they have no idea what they're talking about. There were easily 50,000 people there, and that's the number that I'm kind of championing myself. Some people are saying that there was 100,000. Somebody said, there's in between 100,000 and 300,000, and I'm like, that is a ridiculous estimation. That's like there was like one person there, or there was 1 million people there. Like this is ridiculous. So just 50,000 is the number that I'm going with, and that's peak, right? So that was at that moment in time. There were 50,000 people. There were people who had come and gone. There were people that weren't there yet. There were still people coming in when we were leaving. And I mean, there was like a half an hour to technically go in the whole thing. So it was absolutely bonkers. Kind of some topics that I sort of wanted to check through was sort of the general behavior. I'm sure you've heard this before because it's all over the news. It's like the one positive thing that sort of the general people are saying. And then they're saying why and for stupid reasons. Like, I've never been in a more courteous crowd in my life. The cliche is, an armed society is a polite society. That was lived out like perfectly on this day. Like, I noticed it when we first got there, and like the crowd, it was so stinking tight, like stupid tight. It was so tight that I would try to turn my shoulders to go through a couple people, and then I would just smack them with my bag that I had in my bag. So it was like I had to sort of like push my shoulders together and like going through people trying to get through. Like, as tight of a situation as I've ever been in. Every time either I or someone else bumped into one another, everybody would turn and be like, oh my gosh, you all right? Cool? All right, great. Awesome. Hey, man, my bad. Hey, didn't mean to do that. Not a problem. Hey, what? It was just like you couldn't bump into somebody without meeting them. Like, every time you bumped into somebody, like you were their best friend. It was crazy. Never been in a group of people where everybody was just absolutely just perfectly courteous to one another. It was incredible. Diversity's been a big thing. I've heard some of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life have been people talking about the diversity of this thing. Okay, I heard somebody yesterday was talking on a friend's Facebook page asking how many KKK hoods were there. White nationalists and white supremacists. Listen, this event had nothing to do with race whatsoever. The only reason it had to do anything with race was because of the media championing the fact that the people attending this were nothing but a bunch of racists and redneck hillbillies. Okay? Let you in on a little bit of a secret. It didn't happen. There were no hoods, there were no Nazis, there were no white supremacists there. I heard that there was one white supremacist who got told to F off, and they basically threw him out of the place. Okay? The crowd was not there to dick around with racism. Okay? I'm just going to say that. It wasn't about that. It was the furthest thing from that. It was about freedom, and everybody there was unified. There was everybody there from white people to black people to Asian people to Hispanic people to short people, tall people, skinny people, round people. Freaking everything was there. Everything was there. Bigger numbers in some demographics than other, but that's kind of life. That's how things are. Sorry. It just wasn't what people are trying to say that it was. And I can't drive that home point emphatically enough. That if you were hearing, or if you were believing, and worse, if you were championing a lie, that this was somehow about something other than freedom for everybody, you're wrong, and they're wrong, and they need to be set straight, because it didn't happen. I met tons of people yesterday and didn't have a terse conversation with a single one of them. Everybody was outstanding. I was standing on top of like a tree plant structure on a building so that I could get a view of the big crowd in the yard. And when somebody came out to tell me to get down, because that was always going to happen, I knew that. There were 3 people behind me who were like, "Oh, that's a great spot. Let me jump up there." And I'm like, "They just kicked me off of it. You don't want to go up there. Hey, listen, let me get your email address, and I can send you these photos, no problem." "Oh, that's amazing. That'd be so cool. I really appreciate that." There was a guy next to me, lifelong Marine, just chatting it up with me. Some other guy, just hunted his whole life, talking about that. It just wasn't what people are trying to say it was. Like I'm telling you, it's amazing to me the vibe, the energy that was there. Like, you think that everybody was there like they're there to protest and to rally and just the hostility just wasn't there. It just wasn't. It was just really about camaraderie and unity, and it's really incredible. So nothing I'm gonna say about that. Logistics sucked. Okay, so this joker, the governor of Virginia, talking about, "Oh, thank goodness we were able to get in there and put in these measures in place that everyone remains safe." Fact. It was unsafe. The only reason that we were safe was because of our own behavior. They bottlenecked us as much as possible. There's no other reason that you bottleneck that many people. You don't do what you did without the awareness that there are that many people that are going to be there, right? So you don't go to all these measures and say, "Okay, we're going to have this, and this. We're going to ban these guns. You can't have these out on the lawn. You can have them over here. You can't have them over here. But we're going to pull up all this fence so you can have crowd control." You don't do all of that without knowing an estimation of how many people are going to be there. Everybody knew there were going to be a minimum 30,000 people there. Everybody knew that, okay? Anybody who knew what was going on with this event. To bottleneck everyone, and I'm talking literally a street, one street in, one street out, for that amount of people to go through is dangerous intentionally. There is no question about that, okay? Now, having said that, though these logistics were horrendous, deliberately so, the conduct of the people there was remarkable. I've been to soccer games, football games, baseball games, hockey games, concerts, Dave Matthews, Pearl Jam. I have seen people jump fences, peeing everywhere, throwing down food everywhere, being belligerent to police officers, getting into fights, girls kicking people on in line because they don't feel like getting touched when they're online, getting somebody knocking into them, just kicking people for no reason, guys hitting other guys, headbutting people, punching them in the face. I've seen all that kind of stuff. There wasn't a single incident of any of that yesterday. Not one. Why? Why? You tell me. I'm not even going to tell you. You tell me why you think nobody did anything like that yesterday. Okay? The logistics were horrendous. So if anybody's out there saying to you, oh, it's a good thing the governor went out there and made sure that they had those fences and they banned those weapons and blah, 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 blah. No, not happening. Helicopters, those were awesome. Those showed up exactly at the time where people started to give their speeches. Coincidence? I don't know. Interesting. I've seen some of the footage of the helicopters. They stayed specifically on the grounds. I have not seen any footage of any of the side streets, which were completely packed. But they showed up conveniently at the exact same time as the speeches. So I didn't hear a word of it. They were broadcasting it with speakers, all that kind of stuff. I didn't hear a word of it, but it don't make a difference. The news coverage leading up to it was disgusting. I mean, it's absolutely putrid. You're talking about, this white supremacist group, and this group over here is racist, and that group over there is steeped in racism and all this stuff, to try to make us look bad. And even so that was just there, right? I saw the news teams were everywhere. I mean, the news people on scene, they were cool. They're, I don't know what they were saying, but they didn't bother anybody, and, they weren't getting bothered by anybody, that's for sure. They were just doing their thing. What I did see today was a quote-unquote analysis by whatever the Joker station is out of DC. I see the, like, CNN and all that stuff at the gym. They have all those channels on there, and I just watch the ridiculousness of those people talk. It's unbelievable. But they were analyzing today why people were there. And it's funny because they seem to kind of like say something that's like relatively relevant, and they're like, oh, that's actually a pretty good idea. And then they'll just slip in, what did they say? They said something about a group. They want to put a tag on everything that they say, right? So if you're a group who buys potatoes, you're a white group who buys potatoes. If you're a group who buys, I don't even freaking know, chocolate ice cream, you're a Hispanic group who buys chocolate ice cream. Like, everything is broken down by race. It's so pathetic. It's just trying to label everybody, and pin people to certain identities and stuff like that. It's so disgusting. It's so disingenuous and just trashy. Makes me crazy. But that's what I saw this morning. It was like, they're white people. They were busting into white people. And I'm like, what are you talking about, busting into white people? They were busting in everybody. Like, people were coming from all over the state, all over the country. There were people from Texas, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, North Carolina, South Carolina, Delaware, Maryland. Like, somebody was there from Washington State, Kentucky, Arkansas. People there from everywhere. Ridiculous. I saw probably one of the dumbest things I saw yesterday. If you heard of InfoWars, the guy over there, Alex Jones, what a clown. I mean, that guy, this dude alleges to be, quote unquote on our side. What a moron. When we got there, we were walking the perimeter of the place, and we heard like a megaphone, and my buddy Matt is like, what the heck is that? And he's like, I don't know. He's like, it sounds kind of like, he goes, it sounds kind of like somebody reading like Martin Luther King's speech. And I was like, all right, that's cool. We got nothing to do for a little while. Let's go check it out. Maybe get some photos of it, right? So we're like, we see this awful Humvee come up the street, and right after the Humvee is an even worse. Like, this one was just like militaried out. There's military stuff there yesterday. It was crazy. It was militaried out, and all of a sudden after that, you see this like Alex Jones with a megaphone, with his InfoWars people with cameras and their big boom microphones and all their gear and stuff like that hanging out the back of it. And he's on the megaphone going, Ralph Northam, here's a baby killing, blah, 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 blah. And InfoWars is with you, and we're doing this with you, and we're for you, and we're here for your back, and he needs to be removed from office, and we're going to do this, we're going to do that, blah, 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 blah. All this junk about InfoWars, check us out, Infowars.com. Dude came there, drove around, screaming, yelling about how bad Ralph Northam is, and the laws, blah 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 blah, and Pro 2A, this and that. We got your back, and then left. Dude, he didn't even show. He didn't even hang out at the rally. It's such a clown. I saw some of his reporters and stuff like that doing some stories, and that guy, what a jackass. He was nowhere to be found. He just came there, tried to profiteer off of the situation, sell some T-shirts, pitch his website. I don't know, get his marketing going. What a total jerk. I can't stand stuff like that. If you're gonna go to something like that and you're gonna make a big deal about it, people making it about them just need to shut up and leave. Like, it's just stupid. One thing I want to just kind of last thing to address before I sign off is, so the quote unquote militias, or as we call them, kind of the tactical guys, the guys with their AR-15s and their plate carriers and their helmets and all their gear and their walkie-talkies and their comms, all that kind of stuff. The news loves those guys. Like, the news has those guys. All they want to show you is those guys. And I say guys because they were like 99% dudes, right? So they were all dudes. They're fixated on them. Any news coverage you see, all the pictures on social media from news agencies, anything like that, it's all those quote unquote militia types, right? Let me tell you, they were probably about, I would say at best 25-30% of the overall crowd, which is it's a pretty good amount. Like, and I will say that when I first saw some of them coming through, I was like, what's up with these cats? Like, I'd seen them before. The other stuff that I've been to, they were not at the Spotsy board meeting. There were 3 of them, literally 3 or 6 of them at the first lobby day that I was at back in July. And there were a lot of them here today. And so they came rolling through, doing their thing. And let me tell you, they were not what that rally was about either. Okay? There wasn't one group that rally was about. There wasn't one person that rally was about, except for the governor. Maybe it's just about him. But it's also about the lemming politicians who are all following this joker. But it wasn't just about one group. It wasn't about one person. It wasn't about just one thing. It was about one thing. It was about the Second Amendment. It was about ensuring that it didn't get destroyed by these politicians. And so even though there were different groups, there were those guys. There were guys who were open carrying, meaning handguns, etc., outside of their clothing, so you could see them in a holster. They were probably, I don't know, 20% of the crowd. There were a ton of people there like myself who were concealed carrying, okay? It wasn't about your style of carry. It wasn't about your tactical gear. It wasn't about your helmet or your night vision, which why you're wearing night vision in the daytime, I don't know. Maybe you just got no other place to wear it, but you should wear it there. It wasn't about any of that stuff. And quite frankly, like, people are, even within the community of Second Amendment supporters, everybody's like, oh, these guys, they come there and that's all the media fixates on, so they should, they shouldn't wear that kind of stuff and all that stuff. Like, listen, this isn't about separating our own community within itself, right? Like, everybody there is invited. So if you want to be all tacked out and do your thing, knock yourself out. My only suggestion is, if you're gonna wear a plate carrier and talk about pretending I'm here, to ready for battle, and we're here to do this and that. If you're gonna wear a plate carrier, wear a plate in it, right? Don't come to an event fronting a plate carrier, like you're ready for battle, but you don't have a plate in it. Really? What battle are you ready for without your body armor? You left it at home because it's too heavy for you? Then you shouldn't be here in the first place. If you can't carry your own gear, don't wear it. Like, just the gym, you go to the gym and people pick up weights and they drop them. If you can't put your weight down, you shouldn't be picking it up. If you can't carry your rifle, you shouldn't be picking it up. If you can't carry your plate carrier, your helmet's making your neck hurt, go train. Go to a point and get it to a point where you can actually carry your own crap. That's the only thing I can say about the tactical guys. Everybody, like, they have a place, though. Like, they have a place, and it's fine. They could be there. They could be voicing their opinion. The people who, the country guys, the hunter guys, they were all there. You had, I saw everything. I saw your quote unquote rednecks. I saw hipsters in the gun community. Get the heck out of here. Yes, I saw some dude. Oh my gosh, it was ridiculous. Like, Brooklyn hipster, red flannel. I got a picture of him. I didn't share it. I probably will. Red flannel, Black pants, AK-47, like ultimate hipster, ultimate hipster. That must be the hipster gun as AK-47. It's ridiculous, funny. Um, Black pants and like he had some rubber boots, like not even like hardcore, not even like combat boots or like real combat boots or like Solomon's or something rugged. Maybe like they were like Galasha rain style boots. And his buddy had on a wool hat, like just hipstered out. Like it was hilarious. Like we were laughing so hard, but it's like that's cool. Come here, do your thing, be who you are. Nobody, you shouldn't be worried about like what your style is. Yeah, you're gonna get laughed at. That's fine. You can laugh at me too. I'm not tactical. I'm like dadtical. Like I show up there, I look like a dad. I'm wearing a hat with running shoes on and like khakis and a winter jacket. I'm daddical. I don't care. Nobody should care. You do what you want when you go to these places, right? It's about expressing your right to your freedom. If you can't, this is what irritates me, like within the Second Amendment communities. People are backbiting now. All the bunch of people who weren't there are mad, and they're talking about how people should and shouldn't address, and then everybody's backbiting now. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. So you mean to tell me that uh, it's okay for you to exercise your Second Amendment, but be damned if you exercise your First Amendment, right? Like you, you could come down and talk about how you should protect your right to refute tyranny, but you shouldn't be able to protect your right to dress like a putz. I think that's ridiculous. You come down and dress and do what you want. It's so ridiculous. Um, so that's my thoughts on the whole thing. Just to kind of conclude to wrap it all up. It was an awesome day. Like I walked away from that. Um, I don't know how everything's gonna play out politically, but I am very encouraged by like society and like if that many people can get together. The thing that was really cool was like because everybody was so different and even the white people were different. So if you're like, oh, there was only a small percentage of this demographic and only a small percentage of that demographic, there was a lot of differences just in the white people that were there. Okay, is that okay with you? Can you live with that? So like you had like every walk of life there too, but the difference was we were there for a common goal. We were united, right? And all those differences, we can bust each other's chops about them and give each other some crap about them, but all that stuff goes away because we were there for one united goal, and that goal was to stand in the face of tyranny, just flat out, no other thing about it. That's what we were there to do, and so there was like a tension in the situation because of why we were there, but there was also ridiculous to say, and I'm gonna probably regret saying this. There was like a beauty in the harmony, right? So, like everybody that was there was like this. There was this energy that was just like it was really kind of euphoric, right? Like it was really kind of like just buzzing, like there's this really just incredible energy. We were all there just for the same thing and for that same cause, and there was just something really incredible about that. And so that's kind of why I'm a little bit irritated about just the people who are wanting to tear down what happened yesterday. And the thing that makes me even more mad is like if you were there and you got a problem with something that happened, that's fine. You showed up, right? And you can have an opinion about it. But people who weren't there have a lot to say about it, and I have no time for that. Like just shut up. Like you weren't there. Ask somebody who was, ask them their opinion, see what happened. And here's a crazy idea. Here's an even crazier idea. Show up next time. This happens at least once a year since 2002. Lobby Day specifically, right? So if for some strange reason you're watching this, I have Facebook friends all over the country, whatever, you have something going on in your state, get involved in the political process, right? Because like the problem we have in Virginia, people were engaged before this happened, but nowhere near effective enough, right? So they felt like they had the political capital to take advantage of the situation. And so what yesterday showed was people are done and they're not going to stand for it anymore. So I'm really hoping that these bills don't pass, and I'm also hoping that these people get voted out of office for the next election. I mean, that's really the state needs to kind of have it needs to be re-guided, right? So I think that's where we're at. But I feel like there was one more thought and I don't remember what it was, and I always do that to myself because I don't write everything down. I did write down some notes, but I got it all there. But so yeah, these are my thoughts. This sucker was a half an hour long. This is ridiculous. I never in a million years thought that I was going to talk this much about it, but apparently I had a lot more to say than I thought. So if I can't post this on the Facebook, I'm gonna post it on the YouTube and then share it to the Facebook, because I have a YouTube channel that has never been used before, and it's supposed to be about photography, but it ain't. Thanks, y'all. Later on.